in, and somebody named Chris. I'll ask Cameron who Chris is and see if.
Yeah, Chris is their tech guy.
Oh, okay. Hi, Cameron.
Hey
should I let
guys.
in Chris? I just don't know who Chris is. So.
Well, yeah, maybe.
Okay, admit. I'm admitting Chris now. All right, we've just, thank you for waiting. We just finished our advisory council meeting and people are hopping in and out and whatever.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think we're about ready for you. I need to make you a co-host so that you can share your screen and stuff.
All right.
Well, hopefully you can do it better than I did because I was a little bit of a, had a morning. I had a morning already.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, well, but now I'm off and you're on. So,
okay,
like
here we go. Well, hey, thanks y'all for being Apollo customers. We really appreciate it. And we're excited to have all of y'all on board. I wanted to just take maybe a couple of minutes to go over some new stuff. Some of you may have actually heard of it before, but just want to cover a couple of bases. And then Chris, who many of you probably have spoken with from the support team, he's got some stuff that he wants to show as far as how you can set up some messaging and some settings and some stuff like that. So stick with me for a minute. Maybe you'll catch something you hadn't heard before, and then Chris get in some more detailed stuff. So we will go from there. And y'all, of course, please stop me if you have questions, jump in. I'm happy to answer anything and as we go and stuff like that. So, oh, I see a couple questions. Yes, what's up?
Hey, Cameron, I'm not currently an Apollo customer. Is this not going to be for me?
No, you're here. No, please stick around.
Okay,
yeah,
well.
Yeah, please stick around. We'd love to have you. Yeah, I'd love to have you. Absolutely. So you may hear some duplicate stuff, but yeah, hang in there. It'd be great. We'd love to have you. So, okay. Are you guys seeing my screen?
Not yet, Cameron.
Nope.
Oh, I guess I have to.
Yeah, you have to go down to the green thing in the middle of the screen.
Oh, there we go. Bingo. Okay.
Okay. And from there, you're on your own.
There we go. Got it. Okay. Here we go. Can y'all see it now?
Yes.
Here you are.
Cool. So I want to talk about our COVID-19 centric features, and then I also want to talk about our VersaCard stuff because it's super applicable to all you guys. And then we can kind of take it as we go, answer questions, and I'll hand it over to Chris here in a moment as well to go over some more detailed messaging and stuff like that, right? So first, COVID stuff. The first thing we came up with was a way to quarantine your books. Now, you all may have heard me say this before, but there is no data that shows that library books actually do transfer the disease, but your patrons don't know that. So it's a good way to message to your patrons saying, hey, our books are quarantined for a little bit. So if you're concerned about the virus, then hopefully this makes you feel better coming back in, right? So what Apollo can do is you set it basically in your circulation rules. There's a column for quarantine days, and you can set that to whatever you'd like. And then Apollo at check-in and check-out, not really check-out, but at check-in, it helps you set those books aside. And if you are checking a book out that should be in quarantine, it does ping you about that. So there's a couple setup things in there. But again, the goal here is we're trying to help your patrons feel comfortable coming back in and using the library, right? So self-circulation. So again, this falls in the category of use it if you like it. If you don't, that's okay. So, but we're giving you tools to utilize. So many of you are familiar with how our online catalog is fully responsive on a phone or a tablet. So if a patron goes to their phone and pulls up their account, and you have this enabled, there's a self checkout button. Their account wants to plug in and in good standing, and that way a patron can pull up their phone and they can take a picture of the barcode with their phone. It's all built in. It's all automatic. It's really neat, and that will check the book out to them. Again, they have to be in good standing. You have to have it enabled, and they have to have a phone with a camera to use it, right? So again, neat stuff here. If you've got patrons that are really sensitive to any type of contact, this is a great way. They can go get a clean quarantine book. They can check it out to themselves and they can walk out the door, right? So again, it's up to you and your patron profile. how folks are feeling with everything, but we're trying to give you tools to utilize with that, right? We also have a self check-in where a patron can check their own book in as well. When they drop in the Dropbox, they can just zap it, check it in, drop it, and off they go. So, and then some of you, not all of you, have the Gabby, which is our two-way texting piece. If you're not familiar with what that is, basically it's an add-on to your existing text message features where patrons can text back. So it's a two-way texting component, a two-way texting environment. I'll give you two quick scenarios just as a basic part of Gabby, and then we can talk about the curbside stuff. So basically, if Paulo texts me and says, hey, you've got a book that's overdue, I can reply with a text that says, or I can reply, I'm a patron at home, I can reply saying, renew. And Apollo will automatically renew that book if it's available to be renewed, right? So if it's not available to be renewed, Apollo will bounce back and say, hey, sorry, it can't be renewed. Go to your library, right? So there's some automatic stuff in there like that. Patrons can also text in a thought or a question to your library, and that will show up in your staff dashboard under a Gabby section. You guys can type an answer, press send, and it will text that patron back. So it's a great way to still communicate personally with your patrons, even if you guys are closed or you guys have limited occupancy, stuff like that. So neat stuff. Now, if you have that Gabby feature, then included in that is a curbside service. So if you guys are still offering curbside or still or have continued plans to offer curbside, then Gabby can really help you because you put your Gabby number on your parking spot, a patron texts in that they're there, and then that shows up all within your Apollo console. So here in Dallas, they use a different iOS, and they have a third-party texting service they purchased just for curbside, and it shows up in a totally separate computer, a totally separate window, and the staff has to constantly be bouncing back and forth for the curbside text service. So Apollo builds this all in. It's really clean. It's really nice. It's all part of your Gabby service. So it's cool stuff. So, okay. COVID stuff's done. Let's put a bow on that. Now, let me jump down to our VersaCard stuff, VersaCat, VersaCard. So you guys may have heard some stuff about this. It's a really neat way for you guys to work together, but also keep your full autonomy, right? So basically what it does is, again, it doesn't affect your Apollo account at all. You still have your own account with us. You still set your own rules. You still set your own calendar. You still set all your own stuff, but a patron can go to your catalog page and search other participating libraries that are on Apollo, right? So, so again, you coach your patrons to go to your page. You keep your brand. You issue your cards. All that stuff is still yours, but your patron can have access to other libraries within the scope of that, okay? So again, I'm a patron of Library A. I go to the Libraries A's page. I can search Library B, C, D, and E if they're participating. I can find books. You can set it up such that the patron actually can reserve a book at the other location. Now, if you picture like MailCat stuff, like Mail ILLs, this is more of a localized version of that, where you can keep your branding set up and everything, right? So it's a really neat way to work together, like I said. And then patrons can, like I said, have the option to place a request for a book at another library or place a reserve for a book if you have some transportation set up. There's all kinds of settings in here. You're welcome to try and play with it, see if you like it. There's no extra cost at all for any of this. And there's tons of different privacy settings in there, tons of different settings to have people work together. So if you've got a neighboring library that you guys work closely together, but you're tired of your patrons having to carry two different cards, this is the solution for you. So card-wise, that's the catalog side. Now for cards, you would issue your patrons your own card, and then they could take that card and use it at a participating library. Okay, so they don't have to carry Library A card and Library B card. They just carry Library A card. They can use it at both libraries. And if they're blocked at one of those libraries, they'll then be blocked at both libraries. Okay, so it's a great way, again, to keep your branding. and keep patrons from having to carry a bunch of different cards. Also, you're going to get the patron that has 5 library cards and they've used up library A and they've been blocked for a year. But library B has no idea about that. So then they use up library B and then library C, and they work the system, right? With this, that doesn't happen because it's all talking to each other, right? So it's a really neat tool. Also, if a patron is checking a book out, a library A patron checks a book out at library B, they're going to get all the same notifications from Apollo in the same way. So it feeds right into what they're used to getting, what they're used to seeing. It's a really, really clean environment, a great way to do it. Again, you've got some privacy settings set up there. Also, you may be thinking about the money, like how, if a patron owes money to library B, do they pay at library A and then library A has to send the money? No, that's not how it works. So we put the onus on the patron to go to the library that they owe money and they have to pay at that library. We found that to be the best way to do it because we didn't want you guys to have to hold any escrow or move any money around, right? So again, we're happy to flip it on if you want to give it a shot. You can have different relationships with each different library, so you really are in full control. It's a really neat way to help serve your patrons that way, right? So, okay, that's what I had today. So,
Cameron, while you're on that topic, will you talk about how your system interfaces with the MelCat system?
Yeah, great. Sure. So Mel, guys, so if you guys aren't, if you guys are Apollo customers and you're not using the Mel stuff that we have, then we need to get you set up. Let us know. So basically what Apollo will do for you is it will send your new item records over to Mel automatically and directly. It will send your new patron records over to Mel automatically and directly. And once a day, it will send your item availability over to Mel directly. Okay, so that way you're not getting requests for books that you don't have on the shelf. So that's all automatic. We take care of all that for you. Hopefully it takes stuff off your plate. And then also when you are like doing day-to-day stuff with Mel, like you've got an ILL book on site to give to one of your patrons, you do not have to check it out twice to that patron. You just check it out once through Apollo, and that way that book, just like I was talking about with VersaCard, it follows the same pathway for the patron. They get the same text messages, they get the same emails about it being late and stuff like that, right? So we simplify it, we boil it down as much as we possibly can. Obviously, Innovative is in control of the system, so we're going as far as we possibly can. It still saves you a ton of time. It still pulls a lot of stuff off your plate. So, what do you think? Does that cover it, Cheryl? You think? I hope so. There we go.
As far as I'm concerned, it does, but I want
maybe
the
others,
group
yeah.
to ask what they
Maybe
need to
others.
ask.
And of course, guys, as you know, we're super easy to get hold of. If you all have any questions about any of this stuff or setup stuff, just give us a shout. Super easy to get hold of, like I said. So,
Cameron?
yeah. Patty.
Just a couple things. You know, we're kind of we have like old computers and some things like that. Plus, we're currently a DCB NelCat library. Is that a lot of extra work? Is it even compatible with what we have? Do we have to go buy new computers?
Oh, sure. Great question. Yeah. So Apollo is really independent of your hardware because it's only a hosted product. You don't have to load anything on your computers. You don't have to manage any of that at all. So these days, finding a computer that doesn't run like the browser level is really hard to find, right? So you just have to have a good browser. And the best way to do it, Patty, is to take us up on their trial where we'll input a full copy of your own data. We'll put it into your own Apollo account and you can access it just like you would if you were live with Apollo. So you can really give it a shot, give it a try, see if it works. But the answer is no. But you know, if you have a computer that's 20 years old that doesn't have internet, then that won't work. But as long as you've got internet on the computer and it's, you know, within it's a 5 or 10-year-old machine, you'll be fine. Yeah. But don't take my word for it. Let's prove it to you. Right.
Well, and let me just add, Cameron and Patty, that I think the only libraries that are not DCB libraries are the ones that use innovative interfaces for their ILS. So everybody else is going through that box. But what Apollo can do is use that that coding that allows you to not have to do that double checkout. And I don't know with Follett if you're doing a double checkout with Melcat, but I believe that Apollo eliminates the double checkout piece.
That's right. When you get an ILL on site, you check it in through DCB that you have it on site, and then when that patron walks to your desk to check that book out, you just check that book out to them via Apollo, and that's all you have to do. And that patron walks away. That patron gets their notifications about it being overdue. They get all their standard stuff. When they bring it back, you just check it in Apollo, and then you move it on through DCB out the door. So you're only doing a DCB transaction one time with your book, not when you're actually checking it out to the patron.
One of the things, Patty, one of the things that we love, because we just went with Apollo this winter, when we have a request come in for a patron, we print out a barcoded sheet, like a cover sheet that we wrap around the book. And when they come in to get it, we just scan the barcode. You know, we don't, and it says their name right on the spine of the book, and, you know, it makes things so much simpler. I recommend
Thank
it.
you, Gene. Yeah, thank you, Gene. We call those our wrappers, right? And it's a good way to have privacy also, because it covers the whole book jacket. So you don't have to do some cryptic note on the book to create that privacy. We just cover the jacket, and that gives us our privacy level there. So, but thanks, Gene. Yeah, we appreciate the input. So it's cool. So I guess one other thing on ILL while we're here is you do not have to do you do not have to do any temporary barcodes on any items. You can use the existing barcode that's on the actual book and just zap it and then use that as you're on the fly, as opposed to printing out or creating some temp records and stuff like that. So. Okay. Do you want to, I can pass the baton over to Chris. I'll be here the whole time, not going anywhere, but if you want to, Cheryl, if you want to, I'm not sure if Chris is here and ready to go, but if you want to hand off the baton over there. I think what he was going to talk about primarily is the messaging, how you customize your text messages, how you customize your email messages, stuff like that. And then he's happy to answer any other questions that come up. So.
Hi, everyone. I am here. Just double checking. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. Hang on. I'm going to
I'm
change
everyone,
my
apparently.
screen share. Oh, let's see.
We
Okay,
can't see you though, Chris. Were we supposed to be able to see you?
I am going to switch over to my screen share here in just a second, and I will spare you the webcam picture of my dogs trying desperately to get my attention. Let's see.
I'll just mouth his words so you can pretend it's me talking. Huh?
Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Perfect. One thing that I wanted to just try and put some more light on, since I've gotten a lot of questions about it lately, is how to control automatic messaging from Apollo. There's actually quite a bit that you can customize to either communicate information about your current COVID procedures, or even in, a normal year, just communicate better with your patrons. So where I wanted to start was where you can actually control what's in your messages. If you come to your settings menu in the upper right, we have this messaging section right here, and you'll find templates here to control everything from your catalog greeting to what's on your receipts to what's sent out in email or text. And you'll see there's quite a few different messages that you can alter here about what kind of notices you're sending. Just to ask, has anyone had any information they wish they could send to patrons about reserves or overdues or anything else in particular in their system during this, during our challenges this year?
We use a lot of paper here at Seville to send little reminders of people not bringing books in. Would this be an easier way to go paper free, or at least reduce the use of paper? And can we make it effective so they bring me my books back?
You can absolutely move to entirely paperless options through Apollo. We have pre-due and overdue warnings that can be edited here. And if you want to follow up with something that has some more logging, you can come over here and control. We have two options for notifying patrons about what is outstanding. We have overdue notices and total owed notices. The difference being the overdue notices key off of how far overdue items have gone on the patron account, whereas the total owed notices key off of who owes you a certain amount of money. If you open up either, you'd see they both function on this stage system where there is an option to walk them through a set of progressively serious stages. If you want to, each stage can be set to a phone, email, or text option that sends electronic notice instead of needing to print a postcard or send a letter. If you do go with any of these options, again, we can help you edit what's in the message, and you can choose, again, when the messages go out and other filters about, if you don't want to notify patrons, or if you don't want to go back and try and notify patrons that have something overdue from 10 years ago, you can adjust this to cut off when new notices are generated. Again, same story for the total owed notices, where you can set, again, through progressive stages. A patron would be walked through stage 1 before they're sent to stage 2, before they're sent to stage 3, and you can pick how overdue items need to be and exactly what kind of a message you're sending to patrons. This one is currently set to print a letter, but you can see there's an editable template here that'll let you pick, again, what you're sending to patrons, how you want to word it, how you want to display what a patron owes and why. As far as effectiveness, communication is always better than non-communication. Certainly, I can't force them to read messages from us, but what we found is that by progressing them through this stage system of a friendly reminder that their items are overdue by a couple of days, up to a letter informing them that your items are now overdue however many weeks or months. We do plan on charging you a replacement cost if they're not brought back. That can help remind people that have simply forgotten things, but also helps to present information to the patron in a way that they understand that this situation is growing more serious. Did anyone have any questions about, again, what these notices are or what you can do to edit them?
I see a question in the chat.
Oh yeah, chat.
From Cindy. Do you want to just go ahead and unmute and?
Yeah, this is, this was, I don't know if there's an advanced option or not, but when I see on my dashboard, purchase ILL reference or purchase ILL, I can't remember what the other one is.
Materials, I believe.
Right. It's red and it'll show me something and I click on it and then it tells me, do I email it? Do I clear it? Do I forward it? I couldn't tell in the manual what that meant exactly, because some of them are ILL. So I didn't know, are those ILL requests that somehow were being done through Apollo, or were those just books? Because we already have a process for people to request us purchasing books. So I wasn't really sure what that was. And I went through all the different, manual guides and everything, and nothing really explained what I'm supposed to do with that, if anything.
Okay. We do by default include an option on your catalog by which patrons can submit a request for a book that they don't think your library currently owns. Whether they mean that to be a request for ILL or purchase, we let you as the librarian decide what is more appropriate.
Okay.
So
this is, they're actually requesting, instead of going to Mel and putting a hold on a book,
Mhm.
or finding the book. So this is, they've gone into Apollo, we don't have the book, so they've found a way to request that we get the book for them.
Yes.
So this is kind of a way of them bypassing Mel. That's all. I just want to make sure. I wasn't sure if I was supposed to honor that, if that was just a request, but that explains it then. I just have to make sure I follow up with them one way or the other. Got it. And it does, because it did say something about forwarding to the person that would purchase the books. And since I'm that person, I don't need to go any farther with that.
Cameron and Chris, here's a question. Is it possible, and I don't know if it already is working, I don't think it's working this way, but if you put in a search in Apollo and it's not locally owned, is it possible to send that search right over to Melcat?
Oh, did you want to take this one, Cameron, or have I got?
Let me start. So that's where VersaCard comes in. I know I've been talking about that a lot, VersaCard, but that's where right through your patrons at your page, they can search the neighboring libraries instead of searching one that's in UP or something like that, right? You're searching the libraries that patron probably knows. They know exactly where they are. They're right in the same area. And a lot of times for a patron, that's way more comfortable because they know the space. They know they can go run over there and grab it, or they can request it, reserve it. And that's where we've really created that whole environment versus being dependent on Innovative to do something, which, they're honestly, in their defense, they're not motivated to work with us. We're competing with them, right? So we're trying to create an environment that's independent of that makes your patrons feel comfortable using. It's a more localized environment based on how you guys set it up and your neighbors and your friends and who you work well with and this and that. But to answer your question directly, there's no way to send that search right to Mel. And that, again, that's where Innovative comes in, and we can only do as much as we can do on that. But instead of saying, throwing our lollipop in the dirt, right, and doing all that, we said, hey, let's do something better. And here's your VersaCard, VersaCat stuff. Is
it possible to put a link to Melcat right where the no results return would be?
So on the main catalog page, you can link to Mel on the databases side. On the lower part, you can link to that directly. But as far as if there's a zero result, now I'll say it again, if there's a zero result, you can search your other VersaCat libraries easily. But as far as putting a link right there, I think that's a great idea. I don't have any problem with that at all, but it's not there now. But if that's something I hear from you guys that you want, you would love that, you got to have that, then that's great. I would just coach you guys to try the VersaCat stuff first and see what that does. But I don't think it's that much of a stretch to put a link to search Mel. But that's a development issue, and the more folks I hear from that want that need it, that would love that, then we can escalate it up our development.
We would love that, Cameron.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Yeah. How do we officially tell you we would love that?
Hearts and flowers, or
You just did. Okay, cool.
You all just did. So I think that's a fair, and how we do development stuff is, if it's something that you guys want, then it probably is something that the folks in Iowa want. It's probably something that the folks in New Hampshire want. It's probably something, and that's how we do development, right? So, all right.
Can I ask one quick question?
Yeah.
Cameron,
Yeah.
my cataloger's sitting here next to me, and she tells me she has a list of things that she would like to see added. Like what, reports? Or improved. Does she send that to you or to Chris?
It's just so far.
So I think the best first step for something like that, and number one, we're all ears. We're always listening. That's how we built Apollo, is that communication. But the first step would be to go to Chris, because he can be like, oh, that report piece you're looking for, oh, it's over here, or oh, that does that over here, or that, and that's our first line of, is it already in there? Is it a workflow discussion? And then once we move past that, then we can talk about more development, discuss how things are going to work, stuff like that, right?
Perfect. Thank you.
You have some kind of list on that, shoot it to Chris or the support at biblihonest.com, and we can, like I said, we can work through it from there.
Thank you.
You bet. Sorry, Chris. Kind of.
You're fine. No, again, I'm always happy to take questions, suggestions, anything that you're looking for. And if it's not in the system immediately, I can usually get you particular information to at least get you going from the back end over here. So we'll get you fixed up, whatever you're looking for.
I had a question about making patron records and having those assigned to a specific user that has a password, just so we can track who's making the library cards.
Like a staff member.
Yeah.
So, so when obviously you guys are on the new dashboard, right? So when we switch from the old one to this new one, that enabled us to write features like that. Now they're not written yet, but the new dashboard has created an environment where we can track staff, where we can do stuff, and we simply didn't have a need for it before, but we recognized that need was coming. So that's kind of some of the impetus for our new dashboard, aside from the fact that we think it looks pretty neat and all that good stuff. But so that stuff is coming, right? So it's not actually in there yet, but if you can stick with me, we've got all the groundwork is laid for it. It's just a matter of creating it.
Okay. Thank
One
you.
thing I'll actually toss in there, if you
please.
guys haven't already, and you want to, or if you do want to track that stuff and you haven't done this already, please make sure that you set up a separate login for each staff member so that as we build up our logging capabilities, you guys actually do have different profiles and it's not everybody under one staff login taking these actions.
Great thought. Do you want to show them, Chris, where that password setup is? Just because when you switch over from the old one, you just really there's a little more depth to it. You can use a username if you want. You don't have to. Stuff like that. So.
Yeah, happy to take that. Again, this settings gear on the upper right is where you're going to control how the system functions. I'm sure most of you have been in here for at least some kind of work before, but your passwords are specifically going to be here under the authentication tab. And you'll be able to come in here and under this username and passwords tab is where you'll configure the new paired username and the now securely hidden password for each member of your staff. If you do have a group like volunteers where not every single person is issued an individual password, you can certainly issue the same login still to multiple people. Just keep in mind then that we won't be able to tell the difference between which of them took an action. But you're able to come in here and at any time you can add or edit a new password, change the username, change what its password is, add any notes, or change what the password is allowed to do. And there's a pretty high degree of granularity now of controlling who can do what in the system. Particularly, I think it, pertinent to this question, we do have the options for member editing versus member editing advanced already separated out. Member editing conveys the ability to create and change details on the record, but if you want to actually merge or permanently delete a record, we do separate that out into the advanced category now to make sure that people cannot inappropriately dispose of information.
So that if you guys aren't breaking out your passwords like that for different staff members, that's fine. You're just not, just to restate what Chris is saying, you're not going to have the granularity and the visibility once we have that stuff built up. So if you want to go ahead and start kind of divvying up separate accounts for your staff members, then go ahead, right? That would help you just when we get it ready to flip the switch over, but it's up to you guys how you want to do that.
I should clarify, there's a lot of this stuff that allows you to make extremely finely tuned controls of the system. You don't necessarily have to do this any deeper than is necessary for your library. We have these kind of controls so that if you are operating with a staff of 30 people spread over multiple locations, you can very finely control who's doing what. But if it's two of you guys in one building, there is probably a limit to how much electronic logging is needed to tell who did what, of course.
I think that's also, maybe you guys have experienced that too, is that's kind of how Apollo is written, is we give you all kinds of stuff, all kinds of different features and different stuff like that, but you don't have to use it all, right? It's not, you don't have to, oh, I have to move, I have to go around this part and do this and that and that. It's just, if it's there and you want to use it, great. If you don't want to use it, then it'll just sit there and not bug you. Cindy, did you get your question answered on the ILL thing too? Okay, because there are a couple things on there.
We're good.
Let's see. Are you guys all set up? So if you're not set up with Mel, reach out. We need to get you set up. I think there are a handful of libraries. I'm not exactly sure who. They may not even be in the MMLL, but there are a handful of our Michigan libraries that are not set up. So if you're not, give us a shout. Let's set you up. If you don't have e-materials in your catalog right now, give us a shout. We'll get you set up. Try to think what other big things there might be.
Cameron, does the jacket art come with the system?
Okay,
Is that
so
an extra cost?
yeah, so we are a software company, right? So we're not a content company on that. So we do buy the book jacket images to put onto our site. So there is an extra charge for that. If you guys want to look at doing that, I think it's definitely worth it. It's going to create a much better environment for your patrons to view your book jackets. So we actually just switched over to Syndetics Unbound, which you may have heard of Syndetics. It's a really nice company. It's a nice product base. So, and if you have the Syndetics at the basic level, then it gives you, boom, all your book jackets. Okay. So everywhere you'll get book jackets, even at the checkout screen, if you pull a patron up and they have currently out items, Apollo will show a thumbnail that you can enlarge for the books that they have currently out. So if you say, hey, Mr. Patron, my system's showing you have, South African Lullabies book out. And they say, okay, but what does it look like? You can actually just hover right there and show them the book jacket right from the checkout screen. It's really clean and easy integration. And then if you go to the next level of Syndetics, it's our enhanced level, you get all the same book jackets, but you also get Reader's Advisory stuff. And that's actually indexed to your own catalog. So basically Apollo will be suggesting titles and authors and similar stuff like that based on your own stuff. So it's not going to be suggesting books that you don't have. So it's indexed to all your own catalog. It gives you full Reader's Advisory capability, professional reviews, all kinds of good stuff. So there's 2 different levels in there, and it's worth exploring if you guys don't have that. But we do buy, like I said, Cheryl, to answer your question directly, we do have to buy that content and we put it into our catalog. So.
Other questions from you all? This is your time.
Okay. Well, we guys, we're around, so give us a shout. You know how to get hold of us, hopefully. And then Cheryl, we can pop off if you guys have anything to wrap up. We can get out of your way.
Not so much. I don't think so.
Okay.
We were already wrapped up, and this is just a subgroup, anyways.
Great. Okay.
I just want to double check. Anybody have any more questions for Cameron? And
Well, I don't have a question for Cameron, but I do have a question for the other library directors about VersaCard. Maybe we could get a list of who's willing to do that.
Bel Air would be on board in a nanosecond. We would love to do some reciprocal borrowing between some of those libraries.
We're quite a bit further south, but people vacation up north.
Right. And I mean, with VersaCard and VersaCat, we would be able to, if I understand it correctly, because I come from a different library that did it with, what's the name of that other cooperative, Cheryl?
Northland.
Northland.
The other one.
Yeah, the other one.
There's 11 of them.
Anyway, we did it with all the libraries, and it worked really, really well. And what it more importantly allowed us to do, Jean, is that, you know, if we had, say, a series of 8 books and we were missing 3 of them, we didn't necessarily have to go out and buy those 3 books because somebody else in our reciprocal area had the book. And it also means that, you know, we can actually work together and say, you know what, I'll make sure I've got some of these books on astronomy, and maybe you'll have more books on cookbook. I mean, it opens up to a lot of collaborations, but more importantly, it's a way for our patrons to get books quicker than from down the state.
When we do a request, you know, when a patron requests, like say a book from Bel Air,
Right.
does that can be sent right through Malcat, the delivery, right?
And it's the same, it goes through rides, but if we are, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, if we're a reciprocal borrowing group, then Central Lake, not only can Central Lake request a book from Bel Air and we send it right to them through rides, but Central Lake person works in Bel Air, they can use their library card to check out a book from a Bel Air library. Or if somebody happens to be working in Central Lake and has a Bel Air library card, then basically we honor each other's library cards. Now there's some parts of the agreement, like if my patron loses your book, then I'm responsible for paying for that book. You know, that kind of stuff has to be ironed out. But you know, I would love to do reciprocal with anybody that's interested in doing it. Even if you're far away, it still opens up our get more books.
So let me, if I could, I've got it's a 4-page PDF. It's not a sales flyer. It's a more kind of next level kind of setup questions and stuff like that. Let me send all our MMLL librarians. Let me send that to you all, so you have that. That's okay. And then towards the bottom of that, there's a series of, I think it's like, what is it, 6 questions that basically say how closely together do you want to interact, right? And those are the questions that we'll need to answer between each library, because you guys can each have your own setup between each different library. Like if you're like next door to another library, you guys can have a different working relationship than if you're, you know, 100 miles away from the library, right? So, or you can have all the same. It doesn't matter to us. It's just a setup thing. So let me send that document out. Like I said, it's not a flyer. It's got some screenshots in it. It may help kind of outline some capability. And you all take a look at that, and we're happy to set anything up. But yeah, I think it would really fit well with how you guys work together.
And one thing, Gene, I want to point out too, is that the personal information of your personal patrons cannot be changed. Like so it's protected somewhat, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
So, yeah,
so if I have a Bel Air patron using their card at your library, but it turns out it's not renewed, you can't renew it. You know what I mean? We still control our own patrons' cards and privileges. So that
right. And
concerned about privacy.
Yeah. And Cindy, you can, but you can set it so you wouldn't be able to search Central Lake's whole patron. You can't just go and search their whole patron. You just scan their person's card. It pulls some basic info about that person that's standing right in front of you.
Right.
So it's not, you don't have full carte blanche, just like, you know, that's where it's different than a whole consortium where you have carte blanche to search everybody at any time.
Right.
You don't have that access to everyone's private patrons.
So my point was just, it's private. Your people, it isn't like you're sharing. So your patrons don't have to worry about me having all their information.
Right.
So Cheryl, would you do a like a survey or a list of the libraries in our league that are willing to do that?
Yeah, you know what I think we should do, Jean, is, and Cameron, if you would send me as well that document, I think what I'll do is set up a group for just the Apollo people to be able to talk to each other. You know, it's just another list, email list. And then we can, you know, talk amongst about all of these things and who wants to implement VersaCard and things like that.
Cheryl, do you want me to? I'll send you that document now. You're welcome to be in charge of dispersing it if you'd like. However you want, however I can help, y'all just let me know. So yeah, it's on the way right now.
I would love to have your official list of who's choosing Apollo from our co-op, because in case I've forgotten somebody or whatever.
Sure. So, yeah,
okay. Send it to me and I'd be glad to send it out if that's all
okay.
Right.
I just sent it to you, and I did not put who's on there. I'll have to look up who's on with us. Okay. But you get the document in your inbox.
Thanks. This has been informational.
Great. Happy to. I'm happy to hear that. So that's good news. So.
Yay. Other questions? Anybody?
Nope, I'm good. Just tell Chris that he'll be hearing from us.
I think he just heard you. He probably-
I'll be
Heard
bracing
you.
myself.
Okay.
Okay. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having us again. I appreciate it. So we'll be
We'll
around.
share this with people that couldn't, because I recorded it. So, just our members
Great.
will be able to see it. So thank you so much, Cameron.
Sounds great. All right, thanks y'all. Bye.
Bye, everybody. I'm going to end the meeting.